The Cheetos popcorn, very tasty, somewhat messy. Oh, I imagine it gives you it gives you the Cheeto dust on your fingers, right? I mean, not that like a Parmesan or anything wouldn't either. Well, we have a blank slate, and I'm going to be asking you all for your input on a new character. Now, if you want to create, if you just want to recreate the professor in another form, we can do that. If you want to go in a different direction, we'll have that option. So let us begin. Double checking in case there's any special rules. It will be directed to them by text once you start the scenario, of course, if you're using... Okay. Yep. All right. This. So we're gonna create our character as we go along. Then, nice and easy. Be gone, you double popcorn. I need to narrate. The sun sinks low on the horizon as you board the ferry headed across the lake to Esbury. As you set foot on the boat, the ferryman greets you with a wide smile and a cheery wave. He stands by the gangplank as you pass, welcoming the other passengers as he removes his cap to scratch at his balding head. His pudgy figure fills his well-worn suit. He looks a little awkward, but he seems a rather pleasant sort. Leaving the man behind you, you take a seat toward the prow, eyes fixed on your destination. You settle into a seat with your thin briefcase resting on your lap, noticing that the rest of the passengers are likewise getting comfortable for the short trip across the lake. Glancing around, you catch sight of the ferryman entering the cabin. As you sit patiently and wait for the engine to come to life, you listen to the sounds of idle chatter around you. You look out across the water and notice a thin fog beginning to form over the surface of the water as the temperature drops with the approach of night. After a few minutes, you hear the engine sputter into action and feel the ferry lurch forward. The conversations around you continue as the ferryman joins you all on deck. You can't help overhearing most of the talk, though it's surprisingly banal. There are almost a dozen passengers on the ferry. Most of them are simply looking to spend their money during their weekend in Esbury and to enjoy the various shops and leisure activities the lakeside town has to offer. Many of the passengers seem to come from money, as is common in Esbury. You notice a strange look from one of the women in the group. She has a full figure and brown hair and eyes. She seems to be looking you over, admiring your features. If you are creating your own investigator, at the top of your investigator sheet, you'll find spaces for 8 characteristics. Strength, Con, POW, Dex, App, Size, Int, Edu. Allocate the following values among your characteristics. 40, 50, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 80. When you've chosen which values to associate with each characteristic, write them in the large square beside the relevant characteristics. So this is going to be our allocated, like our our starting array here. So we have 40, 50, 50, whoop, 50, 60, 60, 70, 80. All right. Now, we're making our character as we're going along here. Why don't we start? We'll start from the bottom, and we'll work our way up. Jacance and Coffee Cat, if you're still here, Belladonna, for any of you hanging out, I'll call on you, and we'll cycle through where you would like to put these stats. And if you have a question on what it means, you are welcome to ask, and we'll look at it. So, Jacance, you were the first one to make a comment here. If you're still here, where would you like to put our 40, our dump stat? Strength, con, dex, int, size, power, appearance, or education? Those are the 8 stats in Call of Cthulhu. Where is our 40 going, our lowest stat? We would need to get a 40 or under to succeed. Hi, Asterial. Asterial, you can join in on the character creation. Both the pre-generated Dr. Woods are deceased. And so we're going to make a character from scratch, and third time's the charm. Yep, brand new character. It's a blank sheet we have over here, Jacance. I want you to allocate our 40, our lowest stat, and we're going to work our way up. All right, 40 is going into education. All right, Coffee Cat, are you still here? If you like education, then you don't want to put a 40 in education. This is the lowest. Yes, Jacance. We're starting lowest and going highest. If you don't want our education to be low, what do you want our lowest stat to be? Con? Okay. Alright, so we won't have many hit points, or we just are frailer of health, but you know what? Not everyone can be super tough. It's already been low survivability, Jacance. Alright, Coffee Cat might not be here. I haven't heard a reply. Let's go to Wolf Queen Belladonna. We have a 50 that you can put somewhere. And Asterial, I want to know where you want to put a 50 as well. We're starting at the low end of our standard array. The 40 is already taken care of, and Belladonna's assigning one of the 50s, meaning this is what we'll have as we're moving forward. So Belladonna is going to assign a 50, and Asterial, you can assign a 50 as well. Alright, 50 in power. If we ever need to cast a spell, this is that stat. It's like a magic stat. Alright, Asterial. You have a 50 that you can put somewhere. We might have lost Asterial. All right. Let's go back to Jacance. Until someone else speaks up, I guess it'll be Jacance, and back to you, Wolf Queen Belladonna. Jacance, you have a 50. Where do you want to put it? All right, Wolf Queen Belladonna, it looks like it is just you and me right now. So, Belladonna, where do you want to put a 50? Strength. All right, that's 3. If there's anyone else out there, Jacant's, Coffee Cat, Asterial, anyone else lurking, I would love for you to give input. But Wolf Queen Belladonna, or just Belladonna, it looks like you have one more 50 that you can put into the character. Size, okay. Hey, well, there's Coffee Cat. All right, Coffee Cat, we're building a character together. There are 4 more stats remaining. 60, 60, 70, 80. Coffee Cat, where would you like to assign one of our 60% chances? Dex, Int, Appearance, or Education? Like a knowledge. Like how well-rounded, how educated are we? Coffee Cat, this is for a 60. We're working on the low end and going up. We have 60, 60, 70, 80, but we got to take care of the 60s before we get to the 70 and then the 80. Dex? Okay. All right, Belladonna, let's bounce back to you. There's one more 60. Where do you want to put it? Appearance. Okay. Coffee Cat. Where are you putting the 70, which is also effectively going to place the 80? If you want 80 education, I presume you want 70 in intelligence. But if you wanted to change your mind, let me know now. 70 is where, 80 is where. Sounds good? All right. Okay, Jacants. Well, we finished assigning scores. I called on you again. If you're away, just let me know so I don't disturb you while you're watching other shows. All right, we have our main stats in. We're going to continue along. The woman clearly sees something in you that she likes. Perhaps it's your looks or a glint of intelligence in your eyes. She gives you a sly wink before turning back to her companions. You likewise turn your attention to the rest of the passengers. Sitting apart from the general crowd are 2 men in dark, well-tailored suits, whispering quietly to each other. They have unamused expressions on their faces, as if they don't seem pleased to be here. Perhaps they're on business. Noticing that you're sitting alone, the ferryman approaches you and stands over you with his characteristic smile. You notice he's missing a tooth in the upper left corner of his mouth. His eyes are bright as they light upon you. Good afternoon. You look a bit lonely there, friend. What brings you to Esbury? If you are creating your own investigator, now is the time to choose an occupation. This list of occupations can be found on page 9. If you're using the Call of Cthulhu Keeper, choose one of the occupations listed in the suggested occupations. Make a note of the occupational skills, then allocate the following values among them, and the credit rating skill, writing each in the large square beside the relevant skill on the investigator sheet. All right. Our next spread is going to be this. Once you've done that, choose 7 personal interest skills to boost by 20%, i.e. add 20 to the skill's base value. Just as you did with your characteristics, calculate the half and fifth values. All right. So, there might be a couple of you, but it might make the polling easier. I'm going to open up a poll. Bunch of question marks will appear at the top of chat to show you that what the poll is. Would you like our character to be an antiquarian, an author, oh, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's, okay, we can break this down into... All right, we'll keep it open for a minute. Well, I'll break this down into 2 quick votes. Antiquarian or author. A dilettante. Although that's that might almost be its own, because then we have... Well, then we have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. A doctor of medicine. A journalist, or we can split either between police detective or a private, I'll put PI for private investigator. So if you vote for one that has either, we'll determine which one after that. So these are your choices. Look them over. The poll is open now. Would you like our character to be an antiquarian, an author, a dilettante, a socialite, a doctor of medicine, a journalist, a police detective, or a private investigator? We already tried professor twice, so that is not an option. Antiquarian, author, dilettante, doctor of medicine, journalist, police detective, or private investigator. This is going to give us a certain boost of skills. So please do vote. Get your votes in, everyone. Hi, Asterial. Welcome back. Have I helped? All right, either police detective or private investigator seems to have won over dilettante or doctor of medicine. 1 more minute-long poll. Look for the question marks. Pardon. Dry corn kernel in the back of my throat. Start poll. Vote. Are we a police detective? So we're working publicly? Or are we a private investigator? Get your vote in. Another poll is open. It's a fresh new poll. Vote, vote, vote. Asterial, you have sent some people my way. I appreciate that. I also appreciate you being here, chatting, and participating. All right, Lucius, vote. Get your vote in. It's Skinny Pop, light butter. Very good stuff. All right. 3-1 private investigator over police detective. So, using the standard array that I'm going to place again in chat, we are going to assign these values to the occupation skills that we have as a private investigator. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we can assign that. Now, for private investigator, this is going to be art/craft of photography. Disguise, law, library use, 1 interpersonal skill, charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade, psychology, spot hidden, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 more. So that would be 1 interpersonal skill and 1 other skill. So it seems like we'll get 1 more that we can put into somewhere. All right, I'm gonna ask you all out there, what's at least 1 interpersonal skill? Bunch of question marks will be for the poll. Would you like us to be better at charming people, fast talking people, intimidating people, or persuading people? It's open for a minute. Vote, 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 vote. Get your votes in. It's only open for a minute. What is the interpersonal skill that you would like us to have as a private investigator? Would you like us to be charming, fast-talking, intimidating, or persuasive? All right, be well, Asterial. Thank you for hanging out. Get your votes in. About 20 seconds remaining. All right, persuade. Now, this says we get an any one other skill, ergo computer use, locksmith, firearms. But if we look over here, allocate the following values among them. Oh, and the credit rating skill. So credit rating is going to be is going to be all right. So we have a floater and credit rating. Belladonna, if since you mentioned you're thinking about this investigator giving you Sherlock vibes, Belladonna, where do you want to put our free floating skill? We can put it into anything else. Appraise, archaeology, history, locksmith, sleight of hand. This is a freebie. It can go anywhere. It can go into brawling or pew-pews. History? Okay. So now we are going to get these for free, and then we're going to get some extra bonuses to put in. Jacants. In fact, so who do we have hanging out? Coffee, Jacants, Lucius. Lucius, are you here? And Belladonna, do I have you four? Is there anyone else who's here? All right. So for the three of you right now, Jacants, Belladonna, and Lucius, I want each of you to put a 40% value in one of our skills that we have checked off. And that also includes credit rating. I'll highlight it here. Each of you can tell me where you want to put one of our 40% stats. Photography, credit rating, disguise, history, persuasion, psychology, or spot hidden. Oh, I'm sorry, there's also law and library use. That was covered up. But credit rating is something to consider over here. I just can't really... Well, I'll have to put the blinking cursor. So, Jacants, Belladonna, and Lucius, you can all say it at the same time if you want. You each have a 40% value. Where are we putting that in either credit rating or one of the skills that have a check mark? Jacant says 40% for library use. Okay? 40 for photography, 40%. Lucius, where is your 40% going? A 40% in persuasion. Okay. Now we have higher values. We have 3 values of 50%. It's a half and half chance at succeeding. Each of you can put a 50% value into one of these checkmark skills or credit rating, which is our wealth. Where do you each want to put a 50% value? What's left is credit rating, disguise, law, history, psychology, and spot hidden. All right, I have a disguise, a psychology, and Lucius, and spot hidden. All right, spot hidden, psychology, and disguise. Okay, that leaves a 60, a 60, and a 70. So, Belladonna, where do you want to put the 70? And then Lucius, after Belladonna goes for our highest value, you can effectively assign both remaining six. Oh, well, I guess I would actually effectively assign that. So Belladonna, this one choice will determine everything else. Wherever the 70 goes, the other two are getting a 60 anyway. So your mod, you're lurking. You have the choice here. Where are the two 60s and the 70 going effectively? We have credit rating, history, or wait, no, history was chosen for something. What did I miss? Oh, okay, so history is getting the 70. And so that's giving a 60 to law and a 60 to credit rating. Okay. Once you've done that, choose 7 personal interest skills to boost by 20%, i.e. add 20 to the skill's base value, just as you did with your characteristics. Now, what that will mean is if you want to pump up a value, that's already determined, for example, one of you can say put 20 into photography. Or if you choose charm, because you'd like to bring charm up, then that would bring it to 35 from 15. So if that's 7 skills, by 20, well, that's 140 points. There's 3 of you, Jacance, Lucius, and Belladonna. I guess, why don't we just do it like this? If we did it... let's do this. Jacance and Lucius, I will give you each 40 points to put into skills. After that, Belladonna can have the remaining 60 points. So, let's go, Jacance. Where do you want to distribute 40 points? It can go into something that already has been boosted, or into something that hasn't been boosted yet, like mechanical repair or throw. So, Jacance, you have 40 points. You can allocate them how you wish. I would recommend not doing a 1% across 40 skills. I'd make it meaningful. I'd go for at least values of 5. But Jacance, where do you want to spend your 40 points? Lucius, you can think about your 40, but you'll want to modify it after we put Jacance's 40. Jacance, you want psychoanalysis to bring it to 41, or do you want to increase our psychology? Psychoanalysis. All right. Psychoanalysis is going to 41. Lucius, you have 40 points. Where do you want to distribute 40 points? You can do it in units of 5 spread across several skills, or if you want to split it and go 20 and 20 into something, you can add to something that's already been increased. Jacance, think of psychology like insight in Dungeons and Dragons. Psychology is reading the mood or reading the intention of someone. Psychoanalysis is they're on a couch and you're asking them questions, trying to analyze what might be broken. That's why they're separate. One is reading emotion and intent. The other is actual mental diagnosis. If that changes what you were thinking about the skill, you can let me know. But if you want to keep it that, then that's fine. Lucius wants to put 10 in persuasion, and then 30 in repair. Electrical or mechanical repair, Lucius? All right, mechanical repair is going to 40 with that. All right, Wolf Queen Belladonna. You have 60 points now that you can allocate to our character. Where are those 60 points going? Yep, and Jacance, we'll see if the adventure has us use them. All right, listen goes to 25. Track goes to 15. Appraise goes from 5 to 10. Anthropology goes from 1 to 11. Dodge. Dodge is half dex. That's 30 plus 15 is going to take us to a 45. So 15 and 15 is 30, plus anthropology 10 is 40. You have 20 more points. All right, medicine goes to 21. Yeah. So you had your 3 at 5 is 15, plus dodge at 15 is 30. Anthropology 10 brings it to 40. Medicine with 20 brings it to 60. All right. Our own language, which I'm going to presume, is English, is based on our education level, which is 80. And that means that everything else is going to be at its base value. Belladonna, we have a 1% chance at another language. What might be? We know a smidgen of another language. Which language would you like us to know 1% of? We'll have some fun with it. Alright, calculate half and fifth values. You may equip your character as you see fit. You should refrain from including any weapons. If you are playing Dr. Woods instead, okay. Well then, I guess for total completeness, Wolf Queen, there are some small smidgens. There's also pilot something that I guess we have a 1% chance of. I don't know if he ever piloted a hovercraft or something. And a science of some variety, if you want to have fun with that. We have a 1% chance at some sort of science. Maybe it's chemistry, because we take photographs or something. I don't know. All right. Latin, 1%. All right. Oh, there's a 10% survival in a particular, I don't know, something. The prior investigator was desert. As we're a private investigator, we're going to go to entry 41. You choose your words carefully before replying, not wanting to give out sensitive information. You tell him that you're with an investigative service in Boston and that you're working a case. The ferryman scratches his head. Boston, huh? And they sent you all the way out here? I imagine it has to do with Professor Harris's death, but Officer Powell has that handled, I think. The man shrugs and flashes another smile. But I suppose it's not my place to pry. He extends his hand to you. I'm Lance Sanford, by the way. I think we skipped the introduction. All right. Here we go, everyone. The adventure is taking its next step. Would you like to inquire after Professor Harris, Officer Powell, about the ferryman himself, or do we just want to be left alone? Just enjoy the ride. 1 minute. Get your votes in. There we go. Let me know. Let me know. It is open. That must be the gentleman who's conducting the auction. Interesting to see art like that. Less than 30 seconds remain. Who are we going to inquire about? As the private detective from Boston. All right, looks like talk about the officer. All right. You ask about Officer Powell, and Sanford gives you a guarded response. He's the law in Esbury. Certainly knows what he's doing since he handles the town on his own. Truth be told, though, he can be a little intimidating. He's a big man and not somebody you'd want to find yourself on the wrong side of. I think he gets it from his days in the war. I don't have cause to talk to him much, though. You exchange a few more pleasantries with Sanford before he goes off to finish guiding the boat into port. You pass the time in casual conversation with the other passengers and in observing the scenery. You note the tall pines and the sloping hills along the lake shore around Esbury. These features and the small town beyond are just visible through the growing mist, but squinting helps make them out to your satisfaction. In time, you arrive on the pier at Esbury, grateful to be off the water. You take your first steps onto the pier with the rest of the ferry passengers, trying to get your land legs once again. The passengers still chat casually as they walk off to their destinations. You note one last little flirty wink from the full-figured woman as she struts along confidently behind the women accompanying her, and you feel the two dark-suited men push past you at a brisk pace, nudging you out of their way. Sanford gives you one last wave and a smile as he begins tending to the old rust-stained boat that is his pride and joy. The last light of the sun is fading fast, and the fog is growing thick on the water now. The night is still young, but you would rather not be wandering around in the dark and fog of a town you're unfamiliar with. Taking in your surroundings, you see a sizable crowd jockeying for entrance into a lavish, modern-looking building along the lakeside. A folding sign sits out front, illuminated by a lantern. The words, "Estate Sale Tonight," are written on it in large, bold letters. While this seems to be the main attraction, you could also seek out somewhere to stay for the night and set about your work in the morning. If you've not done so already, calculate your secondary attributes. And so that is going to be hit, magic, but now we have luck and sanity. I think I scrolled too far. Hang on a second, everyone. Okay, so we have that. Significant people. Equip. Where's our luck and sanity? Ah. Sanity points equals the power characteristic. So our sanity starts at 50 and is currently at 50. And then luck. Luck is 3d6 multiplied by 5. Lucius, are you still here? Maybe not. Alright, Jacance, are you still here? Whichever one of you can give me an exclamation point 3d6 roll first is going to generate our luck. Alright, Kragar, if you beat them to it, you can generate our luck. Ooh! Not too lucky. Alright, Jacance. 141. Would you like to use a Fickle God's Favor to re-roll one of those D6s? We currently have 3 that are queued up. Now, more should be available should you all want to participate in granting Fickle God's Favors. But there's currently 3. Or Jacance, are you happy with 30 luck? Alright, roll 1d6. Goes from a 1 to a 2. Well, it's a little bit more. We have 35 luck. All right, those are our secondaries. So we have that, and we're ready to go. All right, everyone, look for the massive amount of question marks at the top of chat because there's going to be a poll opening. Do you want to check out the estate sale or go to a hotel to investigate in the morning? All right, Kragar. It's open now. Get your votes in. Less than a minute remains. Yes, Jacance, our second investigator died last night. Pardon. Someone break the tie, please. All right, it's 2-2. You know what? I'm gonna roll a D12. D12 isn't used in Call of Cthulhu, as far as I know. 1 through 6, estate sale. 7 through 12, hotel. All right, looks like we're going to the estate sale. Pardon me. Pushing through the crowd, you make your way toward the estate sale. Pardon me. Judging by the number of people packing into the dance hall, this seems to be quite the event. Most of the people here are well dressed, with conspicuous amounts of jewelry and designer clothing on display. You see a broad-shouldered man in a policeman's uniform standing by the door. He has a scarred yet clean-shaven face and a baton at his side. His brow is furrowed in a serious expression, and he watches the commotion through narrow eyes. As you mingle with the assorted academics and collectors, you notice a few other faces that stand out in the crowd. Most immediately, you spot a man in flowing orange robes with tawny skin. He seems more than a little out of place and is garnering some odd looks from the other guests. Glancing around further, you happen to notice the 2 dark-suited gentlemen from earlier, standing in a corner toward the front of the room, talking to a young, dark-haired man in a dated yet elegant long coat. He is of a slight build and has rather sharp features. A thin wisp of a mustache hangs beneath his nose. Most noticeable, though, is the rather attractive young woman standing on stage at the front of the room next to a bespectacled old man. Long black hair cascades down her shoulders, accentuating her pale features and complementing her formal black dress. Occasionally, she and the older gentleman peek at objects hidden beneath the white sheets, the sale items waiting to be displayed. All right, is there any information that you all would like to get? Do we mingle with the crowd of guests? Do we speak to the officer that's at the back of the building? Do we approach man in orange? Do we talk to dark-suited men? Or go to the woman at the stage? There's technically a 6th option, which is just to leave the ballroom. We can cycle back to that, but I want to see what you all would like to do, because I only have 5 options with a Twitch poll. All right, it's open for a minute. Go, go, go. Get your votes in now. And while you do that, I'm going to go grab a root beer. Wolf Queen Belladonna is suggesting to chat that you talk to the officer. Get your votes in. Time's almost up. Get your votes in, and talk to the woman at the stage. Well, Belladonna, we can always try again to talk to the officer, but it seems like chat would like to talk to the young lady. Let's go. Stage 22. You make your way to the stage, navigating around the many guests in the dance hall. Your eyes lock firmly on the woman, and hers rise to meet yours as she looks up from peeking at one of the hidden objects. She stops what she's doing as you approach, and a smile appears on her lips as she notices that she's caught your eye. She rests her left hand on her hip as you come to stand at the foot of the stage. The old man behind her continues his inspections, either unaware or uncaring that you've come to distract them. The woman leans towards you over the edge of the stage. You can see her makeup has been painstakingly applied, despite her status as a recent widow. You clear your throat as you meet her gaze and promptly introduce yourself. She extends her hand to you formally. "Well, aren't you a new face in town?" she teases. "We get those quite a bit here. No doubt you plan to bid on some of my late husband's things. Good for both of us," I say. "Just be sure to give a good price for little old me, all right?" She winks slyly at you. You realize now would be a good time to get some more information from this woman, who might be the most well-informed regarding your interests. She certainly seems like the flirty sort and would probably respond well to more of the same. All right, Lucius, have you come back? Otherwise, it looks like we just have Jacance and Belladonna. Is there anyone else who'd like to roll? Do I have any lurkers who would like to roll a percentile? Speak up if you would. All right, Lucius is here. Exclamation point 1D100. We needed charm, and charm is at 15. We need a 15 or lower. Stops on a 9, and there you go, Lucius. You take her hand in yours and bring it to your lips, keeping eye contact with her as you do. She giggles, and her smile grows wider as she regards you with interest. "My, aren't you the charmer? If I weren't a widow, I'd be thrilled, but I must still mourn my husband, you understand. He was a stuffy old goat, and obsessed with his studies. I have no problem selling his things, mind you, but that's because I need the money. A girl like me gets used to a certain standard of living, after all, but I can't very well go chasing after the first suitor who comes to replace him, no matter how fetching." She winks at you again and rests her hand on your arm and lowers her voice to a whisper. "But perhaps you could join me for a drink later. I have a little bit set aside for good company. I won't tell if you don't." She seals the conversation with a final wink before lifting her hand and turning back to the stage and its hidden artifacts. You have begun gathering information in Esbury. Would you like to interact some more? All right. You all are, you can interact or effectively quit this silly place. So what happens is you do not repeat a choice already selected. Once you have chosen 3 options from the list below, or before, if you're ready to move on, go to 35. Note that selecting to leave the hall will make you ineligible to make further selections from this list. Alright, so if you look for the bunch of question marks, it'll be at the top of chat. Do you want to mingle with crowd? Do you want to speak to officer? Do you want to introduce to dark suits? Oh, we forgot approach man in orange. Or we can, so technically there's, I guess there'd be a skip ahead. I only have 5 slots. Or we could just leave this silly place. All right, the poll is open. Yeah. For any of you listening, but maybe you are in another tab. Hey, you, go and vote. Hey, you, vote in the poll now. Get her done. There's less than a minute remaining. What is our next course of action? About 20 seconds remain. And speak to the officer is the winner. You turn around and backtrack toward the entrance to the ballroom. Something about the officer by the door catches your attention and holds it. He gives off a commanding presence, and his eyes bore into you intensely as you make your way over to him. As you move within earshot, he rests his hand on his baton and clears his throat. I really hope there isn't going to be any sort of problem, citizen. I wouldn't want to see anyone getting hurt tonight. His hand does not move from his baton. Make a psychology roll. All right, Jacance, why don't you roll this? We need a 50 or below. Four is below 50. For an officer of the law, Officer Powell possesses a rather thuggish disposition. He seems to be looking for a fight, and from the scars on his face, you can tell he's been in many. With his size, he does cut a rather intimidating figure. Still, the use of thinly veiled threats as an introduction is somewhat unnerving, and certainly not proper behavior for a moral and ethical man. It's probably best not to provoke this man, and it would be wise to avoid him as much as possible. Pardon. All right, we get one more action. Look for the question marks at the top of chat. The remaining choices are mingle with guests, approach man in orange robe, introduce to dark-suited men, skip to auction, or leave this place. There we go. Get your votes in. Hey! Oh, you know what? We're not in the pier anymore, of the lake. We were using, I believe, Royal Court, pardon, as our auction music. Get your votes in. Less than 30 seconds remain. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Approach the man in orange robes. You approach the strange man. He seems well-traveled and weary, and his long orange robes are a stark contrast to the fine suits and dresses of the New England financial elite. He seems decidedly out of place. You open your mouth as if to speak and find him staring intensely at you. Make an anthropology roll. If you succeed, go to 72. Well, let's find out if we do. Belladonna, we need an anthropology roll of 11 or less. All right, Blue Joy. All right, 30 will not do it. Belladonna. You can spend luck. You can fickle. You'll need a 1 or a 10 on the D10. 4 is not going to do it. All right, we have 3 Fickle God's Favors remaining unless any of you choose to cash in your channel points, which are not experience points. That experience points are different. You can cash in channel points for more Fickle God Favors. You blurt out a greeting, trying to make the stranger feel welcome. His face contorts into a look of disappointment, and the man turns his back on you. You have clearly displeased him somehow, and he wants nothing more to do with you. All right, that was 3. We're now going to 35. The murmuring of the crowd dies down and people begin to gather around the stage as Amelia and the older gentleman call everyone to attention. The widow strides confidently to the front of the stage where the lights are centered. She flashes a broad smile at the crowd and begins to speak. Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad you all could make it tonight. As you all know, my husband recently passed and, well... At this point, Amelia begins to tear up theatrically, so much so that her makeup begins to smear. She produces a handkerchief to dry her eyes before continuing. Well, I'm very upset. I miss my poor William very much, and I don't know what I'll do without him. And that's why I've brought you all here tonight. I hope you can find some use for his collection, and I know that he would be happy to see his things go to those who value them highly. I hope you'll show this poor widow a kindness by finding something you like. But now, let us begin. I'll leave the auctioning to Mr. Warren. With her opening statement complete, Amelia moves to stage left and allows the bespectacled old man, presumably Mr. Warren, to take the center stage. He clears his throat before speaking. Tonight, we have 6 very ancient and very valuable items for sale from the estate of Professor William Harris. Though exceedingly strange, I have deemed these items to be authentic to the best of my ability. I have placed a ballot box, slips of paper, and a pencil on each of the 6 tables next to the item for sale. If you wish to bid on an item, simply write your name and the amount you are willing to pay for it on a slip, then place it in the box. The item will be sold to the highest bidder. All of the proceeds will go to the wife of the deceased. With that, Mr. Warren moves to reveal the gathered items. Mr. Warren approaches the first table and removes the cloth covering to reveal an odd pair of clay cylinders covered with strange etchings. They are small and seem quite fragile, with large cracks running down their sides. Mr. Warren proceeds to the next table and likewise uncovers the item in question. This one is significantly larger and more ornate. It appears to be some sort of altar or reliquary, heavily decorated with yellow-green gemstones. However, there is one similarity with the first item, the presence of the same strange written characters, though these ones seem to have been painted on. The old scholar turns to the next item in question and displays it for all to see, a decorated crown of solid bronze, wrought with the image of a Hindu god. The next item is certainly the most mundane, a large, thick, leather-bound journal that appears well-worn and beaten, with several loose papers jammed between the pages. Mr. Warren senses the confusion of some members of the crowd and clarifies that the notebook is the assembled personal works and studies of Professor Harris. The item that follows the journal is a well-preserved ceremonial robe of a Brahmin priest. The cloth is pure white. The last item is perhaps the strangest of all. It is a small statue or idol, presumably of one of the many deities of ancient India. made from a blue-green stone in the shape of a rather grotesque lizard-like creature. The craftsmanship is crude and gaudy, so much so that it appears fake. People begin moving among the items, looking them over and conversing quietly. Blue Joy, if you're here, we need either an appraise or an archaeology. Appraise is at 10. That's going to be our best shot. Blue Joy, if you're here, can you give us a 1d100 roll? We need 10 or below. That's a 97, Blue Joy. We need a 10 or below. If you want, you can try a Fickle God's Favor and turn the 9 in 97 into a 0. And that would be by rolling a 10 on 1d10. Do you want to use a Fickle God's Favor or just take the L and let it go? Alright, roll 1d10. Lands on a 1. Unfortunately, a 17 isn't going to be enough. Close, but no cigar. Yep. We are currently floating 4 now, after Coffee Cat added 1 in. So you all know we have 4 Fickle God's Favors. I don't know if all the redemptions for the day have been used up. If not, then you can keep going in as much as it'll let you anyway. You glance over the items, but you do not have an eye for antiquities. As near as you can tell, everything is as it appears to be, and as Mr. Warren claims. Still, you look over the notebook, you notice it contains personal accounts as well as academic findings. It will likely be a good source of information regarding Professor Harris. Alright, Belladonna. You notice that you're not the only one looking over the items with such interest. The monk appears to be closely scrutinizing the stranger items as well, and the dark-suited gentleman from earlier seems to have taken a liking to the curious idol. Apart from this, various other guests wander around the tables, occasionally fixing on one in particular. There are many guests and a fair number of bids being placed. If you would like to bid on any of the items, now is the time. So there are 7 choices here. What we'll do is get up and take a quick break. I'm going to refresh myself, and then we'll come back and we will begin the auction. So think about what you would like to pick up, if anything, from this auction, and you all out there will decide. Refresh yourselves to 5-10 minutes at most. It's probably closer to 5, and we'll get right back to it.